Hi guys, welcome back to the NGO journey. And if you're joining us for the very first time, welcome to the family. We're here to help you start, grow, fund, and sustain your own high impact nonprofit organization. Now, a few months ago, I went to the launch for this particular fund that I'm going to tell you about today. It is funding that is available for your nonprofit organization to implement high impact projects within your community or your country, and they are offering up to 70,000 Canadian dollars. Yes, you heard me right, up to 70,000 Canadian dollars to you, to your NGO, for you to implement your high impact project. So stay tuned if you have a project that you want to be funded to impact lives within your community. So the name of this grant is called the Local Engagement and Action Fund, or LEAF for short. So what is LEAF? LEAF is actually the Local Development Initiatives Grant Mechanism under the Field Support Services Project for the Caribbean, which is actually funded by Global Affairs Canada. Now, the interesting thing about LEAF is that it is being issued in at least 8 different Caribbean countries, and the countries that LEAF activities will be focused on are Belize, Dominica, Grenada, Guyana, Jamaica, St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and Suriname. So if you operate a nonprofit organization in any of these countries and you have a high impact project that you would like to implement, then it means that you can actually apply for the LEAF fund to fund your project if you get the grant, right? So it is very important that you know the timeline and also what they are willing to fund. So let's go straight to that. So this particular grant that I'm going to be talking about today is specific to Jamaica. So if you are in the other Caribbean islands, generally it is the same type of information, but please check back with us. I'm sure we're going to be sharing videos of when the grant is open for your particular country. All right, if it has not already been gone. So let's delve in to see what is it that LEAF will be offering for organizations in Jamaica. So the grant is actually open right now. So you can actually complete the application form and submit your proposal to the LEAF team for consideration. The deadline for submission is fastly approaching. It is actually July 4th. So you want to get on it right now. So let's look at it. What is LEAF funding? So LEAF will be funding projects that focuses on 2 what you call thematic areas. So the very first area that they are focused on is youth engagement. So if your organization works with young people, especially disadvantaged youth who are between the ages of 15 and 29, you have a project, you can actually apply for the funding with the project that you have for these persons. And the project can be anything that focuses on maybe leadership development. It could also look at economic empowerment, employability skills, livelihoods, so anything having to do with entrepreneurship, income generation, mentorship, skills training. Those are some of the examples. It will also look at projects that will focus on environmental protection and climate action, and even crime prevention. So if you have an idea or a project that targets youth, that focuses on any of these areas, then you can actually apply under the youth engagement theme. The other area that it will focus on is human rights. So if you and the human rights is specific to individuals with disabilities. So again, if you have a project that will be maybe protecting or promoting the rights of individuals with disabilities, then you can actually apply for the funding to implement that project within your community. Now, as I mentioned, the deadline for submission is July 4th. So you only have a few days left to actually apply for this grant. You need to complete the application form. There's also a budget, right? They have the full proposal guidelines, which will give you more details, and you can read that and submit your application. How do you actually apply for this grant though? So you actually have to send an email to Canada Leaf at wusc.ca, right? Or you can actually scan the QR code that you see in the flyer on this video in order to get the application form. I will also be putting the email below in this video so that you can go there, copy the email, and send the email immediately to get the application form so that you can complete it and submit it before the deadline. So let's delve into some of the frequently asked questions. You may have some of these questions for LEAF. So let us look at some of them so that you know exactly what it is that you're getting into, and you know exactly how you can apply, send in your best proposal, and actually get access to this funding. So I've already talked about what LEAF is, right? And also the objectives of LEAF. They want to support civil society and local organizations across the Caribbean, right? And the organization should actually aim to advance the strategic objectives of Global Affairs Canada in their priority areas or sectors, right? So as I mentioned earlier, LEAF, it's not just a one-off grant or a one-time grant. It will actually be available for the next 4 years. So it's running from 2023 to 2027. So if you miss it this year, you can actually apply next year or the following year or the following year, right? Over the 4-year period, they're going to be focused on different issues. But for this year, for Jamaica, the area that they're focused on, youth engagement and human rights for individuals with disabilities. But they will be looking at things such as environment, climate change and biodiversity, sexual and reproductive health rights, gender-based violence. They're looking at youth engagement, right? And they'll also be looking to strengthening the organizations who actually get the grant, right? So that is very important. If you have a nonprofit, you understand, right? I mentioned before the 8 countries that LEAF will be working in, and they might be working in other countries, but those are the 8 that are listed here. So let's look at some other questions, right? So what are the eligible organizations, right? So first and foremost, your organization should be a registered not-for-profit organization, right? And it can be non-governmental organizations. If you've listened to my videos in the past, you would know that different organizations call themselves different things, and I mean, depending on the country that you're in, you may be referred to as an NGO, a non-profit, a civil society organization, or a charity or foundation, right? So once you're considered a not-for-profit entity, it doesn't matter what you call yourself. Once you're registered, you can actually apply for the grant, right? The grant is also open to national agencies and also subnational agencies. So like the municipal councils, government can apply for the grant, government agencies, municipal councils, town councils, city councils, right? And regional organizations who operate in one of the eligible countries can also apply for the grant, right? Schools, educational institutions can also apply for the grant, right? What are the types of grants that are available? So LEAF, for this particular grant for Jamaica, it's one grant, one type of grant, and that grant is available. You can actually get from anywhere between 50,000 Canadian dollars to 70,000 Canadian dollars to implement your project, right? How often is the funding available? So the funding will be available annually from 2023 to 2026. Every year you can apply for it, right? It ends in 2027, right? Will organizations be required to provide cost share? So yes, right? Organizations are required to provide 10% cash or in kind. So cost share means that you all the total cost of your project will not be covered by the leaf fund, right? It means that your organization or another organization will cover at least 10% of the total cost. So say for example your project is $75,000, right? Then your organization needs to cover 10% of that 75,000. And there's an easy way to do it. If you have the cash in your organization and you want to put up the 10% of the $75,000, you can do that. Otherwise, you can do it in kind. What do we mean by in kind? It means that, say for example, your organization has a space that you work in. So instead of paying rent, you would still put the cost for the rent in the budget, but you would put that as an in-kind contribution from your organization because you already have the space available. If you don't have a space and say your organization has equipment, you have laptops, you have a projector, again, that could be your in-kind contribution. Or it could also be looked at as, what about your project manager or your facilitators? Instead of them charging the full market rate for their services, you could subsidize the cost. So say for example, as a project manager, you would really charge, say, in Jamaican dollars, $300,000 for your fee per month to be the project manager, for example. You could now charge $230,000, right? Because you are giving that $70,000 as an in-kind contribution to your fee. So that is an example of what in-kind contribution looks like, right? Next question. Can administrative costs be included? Yes, right? So you can include administrative costs, and however, it should not exceed 15% of the grant, right? So administrative cost again, like, general overheads for your organization, those can be included. Many grants do not allow that, so this is actually a great thing for this grant, right? How can funding be accessed? So the call is out. The call for proposal is out for Jamaica right now for this year. So you have the opportunity to send an email to request the application form and the proposal guideline, or you can scan the QR code that you saw in the video and you can access the form, complete the form, and submit it by before or by the deadline, which is July 4th. Now, next question, what supporting documents will be required? So your organization, it must be registered with one of the registration bodies in Jamaica. So you should be registered either with the Companies Office of Jamaica, or you can also be registered with the Department of Cooperatives and Friendly Societies in Jamaica, right? So once you have your registration document, you will need to add that to your submission. So this has been updated. You don't actually need audited financial statements, but you can actually submit your your in-house financial statement or a copy of your bank statement showing your last 6 months transactions, right? So they will accept that. And you should also submit a letter indicating the two signatories on your bank account. So once you have a bank account, you need to have at least two signatories on the account. So and to make that clear, if you have an organization, you cannot be the only one who signed. You must have another person who signed for you to get funds out of the organization. So that's what they mean. All right, next question, what types of reports will be required? So as any other grant, once you get the funding and you start your project, you'll have to do a progress report. Usually it's like a few months after, maybe about 3 months after, and then you actually have an interim financial report, and you have to submit your supporting documents. A supporting document for your financial report usually are like the invoices, if you had sign-in sheets like registers to show that the person's attended, or if they got stipends, right? Your receipt books, you need to submit those, right? Then you'll have to also do your final project report as well as a final financial report. How long does it take to get an update after application? So the process takes approximately 4 months, and I'm going to show you the timeline after this, right? How will organizations be notified? So an email will be sent to the email address provided on the application form. Can organizations submit more than one proposal? Organizations are permitted to submit one proposal per call. So you cannot submit more than one proposal per year, right? If you have another project, then wait until the next year to submit it. So remember, in order to submit your application, you have to send it via email. All right. If you have any questions or further questions about the LEAF grant, the contact person for the LEAF grant is actually Bridget Barrett. So you can actually contact her via phone, or you can email her and she will answer your additional questions that you might have. All right, so let us now go to the LEAF timeline, right? So first you will have the call for proposals. So that's currently happening for Jamaica. Now the application process, on average it's 30 days, right? Once your application has been submitted, right, the review process will take approximately 30 days. So you just have to sit and relax and wait. All right. And then after they have done the initial review, they're going to do their due diligence, and due diligence is to, do some research on background, any organization, all of that. That will take another 15 days. And then after that, they're going to do what is called the final selection. And the final selection, it will take about 10 days for them to actually finalize the approved projects, right? Once that has been done, they are going to be granting the award, and that will take about 5 days. So the grantees will be notified of their selection. And as I mentioned, you will be notified via email. So keep checking your email once you have made a submission. So basically, that's it, guys, for this grant. Remember, this particular grant funding that I've shared is for Jamaica. Belize is also open, but that's a different application. So if you're watching from Belize, then be sure to get the application form that is specific for your country, right? They are going to be launching the LEAF Fund in some other Caribbean countries soon. So Dominica, Grenada, St. Lucia, and St. Vincent and the Grenadines, look out, right? The LEAF Fund will be launched in your countries soon. So look out for it. Start thinking about your projects if you haven't thought about it as yet. And be sure to apply once the grant has been launched in your countries. So all the best, guys, those of you who are thinking of applying. Key thing to remember is the deadline, July 4th, right? And remember, to get the application form, you can look at the description and copy the email address, send them an email and request the application form. Ensure that you complete the form properly and you submit your budget along with your supporting documents. And all the best. Let me know if you have applied or you're thinking of applying for this grant, and do come back and let me know if you got it. Thank you for watching. Remember, subscribe if you are not yet a part of the family.